Last time on the Apothecary Diaries, Season 2. After noticing swelling on Lady Jin's face despite it not being a side effect of the poisonous mushroom, Mao Mao investigates and finds Lady Jin's real boy buried where the mushrooms were growing. She theorizes that the woman who everyone believed to be Lady Jin was actually Tu, a consort Jin abused, who killed her by accident one day. The rest of the maids replaced Jin with her until ultimately killing her when her wedding was near. Episode 4 starts off with us getting another glimpse of the two mystery ladies seen previously in the caravan. While in the Jade Palace, Jiaokayu invites Mao Mao over to show her the new glass mirror she had just been gifted. The grand full-length mirror was a precious item. Breaking it could very well result in the culprit's head being chopped off, in Mao Mao's mind at least. This was not the first mirror that came to the Jade Palace. However, as Gyuan mentions, they had one before too, but Yinghua accidentally broke it. Fascinated by the mirror, Mao Mao starts wondering how it was made and how much potential economic benefit making this locally would bring them. Jiaokayu tells Mao Mao that the mirror was a gift from a foreign envoy. Mao Mao recalls Quen telling her about the caravan going to welcome some foreign envoys, and so these must be them. They had apparently gifted these to all the other high consorts too. Giving away such expensive gifts, Mao Mao believes they probably wanted to make a major trade deal with the country. A little later, Gaishun arrived and asked to meet Mao Mao so he could get her opinion on something. He asks Hongyang for some space where he could talk with her. Hongyang had joined them too, but apparently lost all interest after finding out that Gaishun already had a wife and kid. Gaishun then shares his predicament with Mao Mao. It was evidently a matter that significantly affected one of his friends. This person had two daughters who were close to each other in age and appearance. Raised with love by their parents, the two sisters then got prohibited from ever going outside by their overprotective parents. They had been assigned a maid to look after them, but the maid would occasionally take them out. One day, their father found out about this and locked the girl inside while also stationing two servants outside the windows to keep an eye on them. The sisters would then spend their days embroidering until one day the younger sister got pregnant somehow. Mao Mao asks if perhaps the maid took them out secretly again. But that couldn't have happened since the original maid had been suspended. Hongyang asks if maybe they had been involved in a relationship with one of the servants watching over them. Gaishun quickly rejects that hypothesis as the servants weren't allowed to get close to the room. Mao Mao tells Gaishun the girl didn't need to have relations with the servant to get pregnant, but rather just thinking that she can actually trick the body into showing pregnancy-like symptoms and such. Mao Mao asks Gaishun to confirm if she really was pregnant. Gaishun brushes this question off and states he was instead interested in whether they were able to get out. Gaishun then describes the blueprint of their living quarters, which was a detached building connected to a main one through a western corridor, which was also the only exit apart from the two windows on the eastern and southern sides of the building. Furthermore, for both of these, a servant was stationed outside, monitoring them. The sisters would spend most of their time doing embroidery. Mao Mao gets the impression that Gaishun knew more details about this story but wasn't telling her everything. Was it really about a friend? She wanted to ask but didn't know if she should. Gaishun then hands Mao Mao something Lord Jinshi had sent as a form of apology for the delay in the Ox Bezoar. This item immediately lights up Mao Mao's entire face, as though she had been given a winning lottery ticket or something. It was bear bile, which, although bitter in taste, had medicinal applications in digestive ailments. Mao Mao then goes over how she thinks the girl could have slipped through the surveillance. She puts two nuts on the spots where the windows were to represent the sisters sitting there, and then puts a small mirror at 90 degrees to one of them, which reflects her image as though there were three of them there. Given how the sisters were very similar in appearance and how well a good quality mirror can reflect, it was entirely possible that one sister was present there while the other would sneak out. And as far as the matter of them both working on different pieces of embroidery was concerned, Mao Mao solved that issue by drawing a face that could appear as two things depending on how you see it. In the sisters' case, they were apparently working on a rabbit and a bird, which is basically the mirror inverting the image. The possibility of not being told the whole truth to hide a secret keeps bothering Mao Mao, but she shrugs it off by focusing her attention on the bear bile she just got. Later on, Lord Jinshi meets with Mao Mao to ask her if she knew anything about a beautiful woman who shed tears of pearls. The rumor was that she was beautiful like the moon spirit, dancing as if the wind was blessing her, and when her tears would fall down as pearls. Mao Mao asks why the sudden mention of this, to which Jinshi replies it was the request of the envoy they were hosting. This particular envoy, who came from the west, had heard stories about this moon spirit dancer from their grandfather when they were young and had requested to meet them. Thinking it was probably impossible to do so since this took place so long ago, Jinshi loses hope anything could be done. But Mao Mao suddenly realizes this lady still existed. It was the granny from Rokushouken. Since she was too old now, Mao Mao suggested they offer some younger dancers, but that had already been tried and failed. That's because the envoy was a woman, and feminine charms wouldn't work on her. Jinshi was desperate to do something at least because this guest was very important to them diplomatically as they controlled the trade in the west and north. Seeing how important this was for him, Mao Mao decided to do something. She calls the granny to the meeting room in the palace. Granny, being her typical snarky self, starts criticizing the place right away, complaining about not being offered any tea or refreshments. Mao Mao gives an embarrassed laugh and gets to the point. She asked her about hosting an envoy some time ago. Sure enough, Granny had done that, but 50 years ago. Back then, during the rule of the ruler before the previous one, the capital had just been moved here, and Granny was picked as the lead dancer of the first host welcoming. While she was very pretty too, the main reason why she got picked was because of her tall figure, Granny tells Mao Mao. Mao Mao sees the logic behind it since having a large presence on the stage would definitely work in your favor. Granny didn't have proper preparation, though. She had to remove insects in the area by hand and even had to put up with sabotage attempts from other courtesans. However, despite all that, she still gave a flawless performance. Granny then shows Mao Mao a painting of her that the envoy had specially made in his country and had sent over to her through the caravan. Mao Mao takes the painting over to Lord Jinshi. Since the old granny was very tall in her youth, 175 centimeters to be exact, they would need someone of similar height. Furthermore, the hosts, who were cousins, turn out to be quite tall themselves too, so a smaller dancer would look like a child to them. Mao Mao then tells them she has found the 175 centimeter plus beauty they had been looking for as she stares at Lord Jinshi. Around the same time, Lady Lulan meets with the Emperor, while Shisui can be seen hunting for insects in the dark.